So, John Willis,
What's up, man?
good
Nice
to meet you. I'm just so pleased that this is a thing. I know that Nicole does a lot of the legwork, but obviously it wouldn't happen if we didn't have a place to do it. So, I'd obviously, excuse me, I just got one of those peppercorns.
Yeah, I did that last night, and it ends up in your nose somehow.
But I knew about special operations equipment. I've actually been talking to a buddy of mine that lives in Nashville, telling him he might want to look into working with you. He's been building ultralight backpacking gear.
Cool.
Expert sewer. I know you need those. So, but I guess my point being, it's cool to see your facility. I had no idea sort of how big this business actually was. Really didn't know what to expect, but you got a cool operation going here, and I'm kind of thinking I got a thing or two I could learn from how you've done your business. So.
Well, I'm sure we can learn something from, I'm sure you have a lot that I can learn, right? Mm-hmm. And we can take something. I believe that everybody you come in contact with is contagious, and you're going to catch something, so you better make sure that you want what you're going to catch.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you have a lot of things that I could take away and immediately that day implement into my business and life. Mm-hmm. We just have to decide which ones those pieces are, right?
Sure.
So tactical gear is what has allowed us, that paid the bills, right? And it allowed us to be involved with Jack, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody can listen to Jack, but if I didn't have a business, how could I do some business or get Jack's attention? Like, I heard Spearco years ago, and I'm like, I want him to know my name, right? I want him to know who I am, and more importantly, because it wasn't even on my radar that I could be friends with Jack.
Yeah,
so now I get to call him friend. I talk to him every couple of days. I have access, right? But we're really in the people business.
Yeah.
So we're in the business of building people and community. And I think if you build that, it really doesn't matter what your product is, because if people like you, they will believe in you, and they will have commerce with you. So the money will come if you do enough good. And that's, I kind of was early on, if I could go back 20 years and talk to, or 30 years and talk to 20-year me, that's what I would say, right? Your business, no matter what it is the people business. And I don't talk on the phone, right? You're not ever going to get me on the phone. You could be dying in a bed. You won't get me on the phone. Jack would laugh about that, right? He's over there laughing right now. But I realized that I need to talk to people on the phone, right? Yeah. So I spent Christmas Eve picking up the phone and calling my customers and going, hey, thank you for your order. I just wanted to say thank you for your order, man. Hey, thank you for your 20th order. Hey, thank you for your first order. And every time I do that, the orders just pour in. People talk about it, right? So talking on the phone, just building relationships, just like Bear just said. So that's really what it comes down to. And I believe that if we do enough good things, the right people will show up, right? How do I get 450, 600 people on the property right now for this? I just was kind of doing some of this stuff. I said, hey, we're going to have a small get-together. Come if you want. 250 people showed up. And I'm like, holy shit, there's 250 people here. I don't have a Ferris wheel. I don't have Shamu. They're like, we just want to see the aquaponics. Like, we just want to see the goldfish. I'm like, good, I have one goldfish. So it's just, how do you build things and then motivate people to do them, right? People come up always and they're like, hey, man, I did this thing because of you. And, well, maybe. I was the dude that you happened to hear when you were ready to do it, right? You finally were ready to execute, and you heard something I said, and that kicked you off the cliff, but a bunch of other dudes pushed you to the cliff, right?
Yeah.
So how do we bring them together, and then how do we not only bring them, but how do we all have a piece of that? How do we all have some kind of commerce or some kind of business? I need everybody to take their part, and monetize it so that they can continue to be part of it, right?
Well, I love your premise of monetizing trolls or haters or whatever you want to call them, right? It kind of flies in the face of what we're taught about, the customer's always right. You gotta put on a nice face even if they're being an asshole to you. And you've turned that around and actually shown the exact opposite is even more effective.
So I believe that was Woolworth that came out with that. Just like a diamond is a girl's best friend. Like Desir or Braziers, whoever the fuck they are, they own all the diamonds, right? And they came up with a diamond is a girl's best friend, and now your girlfriend wants a diamond, and she wants you to spend 3 months of your income to buy the diamond, right?
Right.
So is that true? I mean, it worked. It's awesome marketing, right?
Yeah.
But when I did that, I didn't really know what was going to happen. Like, I blasted that guy, put his phone number out, put his address out. Like, he was out there.
You said this guy mistreated your wife, right?
Well, he called her and said, hey, where the fuck is my order at? I just ordered this and I don't have tracking, you fucking bitch. So I wrote his name. I wrote all his shit down, right? And this happened at like 11 o'clock on a Friday evening. And we find his order and pull his order. That motherfucker ordered at 5 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah.
We closed at 5 o'clock. We couldn't have shipped it anyways.
Yeah.
So it just, when I hit send, I authored it outright, and I just kind of sat there for a minute. And she's looking, she's like, what are you going to do? And I hit send. She goes, what's going to happen? I go, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
we'll see.
We have no bills. We owe no money. We can do whatever we want. We moved here to work with 3 people, not 12, not 20. And the opposite happened, man. The traffic was just like, holy shit. Like, I mean, huge social media groups were sharing our stuff.
Yeah.
Restaurant owners and server, like unions were sharing our shit. And it went insane, dude. We did $20,000 in sales that night. Like when we woke up, I'd forgotten about the post. And the first thing I usually do is look at bank accounts, look at PayPal, and look at the website, right, for sales. And there's like $20,000 more than should be in there. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
What just
and
happened?
That's what it was. People
Wow.
people liked what we said and bought shirts, or just they bought anything, right?
Well, I think it's like people are sick and tired of being patronized too, and like if you can just be authentic, even if you're a little abrasive at times or something, like
People people look at me as abrasive, right? I am going to tell you exactly what I want to say in as fast a manner as possible so that I can move to the next thing. And people take that they take my fact and brevity for abrasiveness.
right.
So that's just it, man. People, if you just spent your life treating people well, if you wanted to treat somebody poorly, just don't treat them at all, right? Just don't interact with them. If you smiled or said something positive, it could totally change somebody's day. We don't have bad days. We have bad moments of days, and most of them are very minuscule if you stop and think about it. So if we can just simply compartmentalize that, there are no bad days. Like I'm walking around here at 5 o'clock last night moving things around. Guys are like, you're still working, man. You don't ever quit. I'm like, this isn't work. This whole weekend, I have put myself into a position now where I can literally do anything I want to do. This isn't work.
Yeah.
Nothing about this is work.
This is life.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like
right.
this, I literally, if you see me doing something, you can rest assured that I want to be doing it.
Sure. Well, I like you said that exact thing basically. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Right.
And it's funny. I think Jack always talks about how what's his name? Shark Tank guy.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Vanderchuck?
No, the other one.
Anyways,
how he says don't follow your passion, yet that's exactly how he
So it's super easy for dudes with billions of dollars to tell you fuck that, or Vanderchuck or whoever he is to you don't need to do that.
Cuban,
right?
Mark
Cuban, right? It's super easy to do that. Do you think Mark Cuban manages any of his money at this point? Do you think Mark Cuban does things he doesn't want to do right now? So it's really easy. Like Vanderchuck's like 10 pieces of content every day. You gotta, you go out. Well, he owns all those social media companies. He's heavily invested. He needs you to do that, right? But what did he really start as, right? It was baseball cards, and then it was wine. It was the wine where he made his money because he liked doing wine. His father owned a liquor store, and he figured out how to sell some of that liquor online, and it was very popular, made a lot of money. It's easy to look at people and take advice, but it's like Ramsey. If you need to get out of debt, Dave Ramsey's awesome to get out of debt. Do you think Dave Ramsey's doing any of that investment shit with his money that he's telling you to do? Fuck no, he's not. He's got so much money, his money's making money every minute, right? So it's easy to take advice from those big dudes. I do. Like I do watch and consume that content, and I've become friends with not those guys, but some other dudes in that type of industry. But it's accessibility, right? Can you go there and see it, and are they the same person in reality? And that's kind of been my big thing the last 2-3 years is I have an audience. I've done enough stuff now in enough different realms. Like our YouTube channel is such a mess because we don't have a theme to it. My theme is I'm going to do whatever I want to do that day, whatever it happens to be about, right?
Yeah.
So, but we have enough people that keep coming back, even though we're in such a disarray, the way I do things, that they're there. So I have an audience, and they ask advice, and I feel that if I'm in a position to give them advice, that I should be able to back that up with, here it is.
This is how I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, and have proof of it.
Right.
Because so often we look at content and there's an awesome, palette wall in the background, and you see these glowing globes or whatever. but the whole rest of their life is a fucking disarray. It's just a shambles, right?
Sure.
You go to these beautiful homestead YouTube channels, and it looks like a fucking bomb. It looks like they rounded up all the rest of the property. They've got like an acre that's awesome, and then they've got all this other nonsense everywhere else. It's just for show.
Yeah.
So I think that we open up, and when people come here, they're like, "Thank you for coming here." I'm like, "How do you know about us?" "Well, I watch every video." I'm like, "Dude, if you watch or know anything about me, you tell me what you want to see. Nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
Nothing is off limits here. We can go there. I can show it to you. We can touch it, and we can talk about it."
So I mean, this is a little out of left field, this question, but I guess I'm curious. It seems like you're a guy who values privacy, but you're also putting yourself out there constantly. I mean, is that something you had to get used to? Because like,
No, I grew up with it. So we were doing this before the internet, and it was much harder to do before the internet. So as the internet came up, things got simpler. And then I had a federal search warrant served. So I was on CNN for 3 days, 12 agencies, went to federal prison I was out for 24 months, going to court, 22 months in Lompoc prison, right? So there was a lot of, I couldn't have been more public at that point than that, right?
You're already out there, yeah.
So are they going to tell my story, or am I going to tell my story?
Amen. I guess that makes perfect sense.
So I
take
guess
back the reins, right?
So a lot of guys, like, people don't like what I say. If you find somebody that doesn't like or takes issue with what I say, ask them if they've ever met me, right? Because it's always that guy, right?
Sure.
So if they're going to have that conversation, do I want them to be able to tell it, or do I want to tell my version of it? So I've never had a problem with that. As far as we don't ever go out in public to a shopping mall or someplace and somebody doesn't come up and go, "Hey, I love your stuff," right?
Yeah.
Never have I had a dude come up and go, "Hey, I think you're a fucking asshole," right? That's never happened. Only on the internet.
Yeah.
But like when we go out on a weekend we'll go to Nashville to have dinner and a movie and stuff, we're videoing it or taking pictures, but you won't see the content till 2-3 weeks later. If I say, "Hey, I'm going to Nashville," fucking 20 people will show up there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, we're able to still do that.
I guess partly I'm almost like nervous. You know, I'm doing the content creation thing, and it's like the fear of the success of being known all of a sudden after not being known.
So I feel like, and you say that very genuinely.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're repeating something you've heard said and don't realize you've been programmed.
And maybe so. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so I'm so scared. Fear of failure. Fear of failure. I feel like that is the modern day excuse for laziness.
Sure.
I'm scared to fail. You got to fucking try before you can fail.
Yeah.
There's not a motherfucker out there you're paying attention to that hasn't failed at a lot of shit.
Right. Well, I'm almost less fearful of failure and more fearful of success in that, which is kind of whatever paradoxical, but it's a recognition of responsibility. The more success you have, maybe the more responsibility you have.
Okay. So
right? You're responsible for how many folks' income, right? Like you've got a dozen employees now.
So only do good stuff.
Yeah.
Like we know we've all done stuff in our life that's questionable. Mm-hmm. We've all done stuff, even if it's a kid, right? You know right from wrong. We all know that when we do that. Ask yourself when you're doing it, what do I stand to gain by this? And what do I possibly stand to lose? The losses are always greater than the wins. So is it worth doing that thing that feels comfortable or right at the time? It literally, like, whether you believe in the Bible or aliens, whatever you believe in, karma, right? If you do good shit's coming back. If you speak in a positive manner, positive stuff's coming back to you. You can't deny it, no matter what your belief is.
It's a law of nature.
That's always it, man.
Yeah. Too cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I really appreciate it.
So how do we get you to the level you want to be at? What is that?
Well, that's a hard question to answer, I guess. I'm promoting the podcast, Easy Peasy Podcast, and really my mission is to make backyard veggie gardens more accessible. And so I'm almost viewing the podcast as a vessel for attracting the right people to help me achieve this vision. You know, I want something akin to like an Uber for backyard vegetable gardening, you know, where it's very simple to make contact with a contractor who can get the work done that you want done the way you want it done. And so it's kind of, you know, I see it as a symbiotic thing where you can't just operate in a vacuum. You can't pretend like everything's just going to come to you magically. You have to make that happen, and you got to put yourself out there before anybody's going to give a shit, right? So for about 3 years, I worked and just busted my hump building gardens. Really enjoy the work, but I felt like something was missing. And I'd go home, I'd get stoned, I'd watch TV, and it's like half of my day is wasted. What am I missing? Like, what do I need to do? And I knew that I could podcast, and I had like a certain amount of ability to talk to people, and it seemed like a waste to go all day, every day, all week, basically only talking to my clients. And working alone I love, but it was kind of like, am I really even accomplishing what I set out to accomplish? Like, there's this missing piece of the puzzle. And I think content creation kind of fills that void, where you're not only sort of expanding your potential reach, you're putting your hours after work into something creative and productive instead of just farting around doing nothing.
That's doing what you love.
Right.
If you like what you're doing, it's not really work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you have social media everywhere?
Instagram is mostly what I'm doing. Easy Peasy Gardens on Instagram.
Okay.
And the Easy Peasy podcast can be found anywhere. You talking about TikTok? I've hesitated because I think it's like Chinese mind control, right? But I think I need to start. I want to put out video content to help people start their own gardening, and
there's a ton of gardening on there. It's a good platform.
Yeah.
Whether it's evil or not, let's harness it and try to pull some good out of it.
Right. Like Tai Chi or whatever.
Yeah.
Shift the energy back
yeah.
on the aggressor.
Well,
Right?
dude, your verbal fluency is good. Your voice is fucking awesome. You can definitely, already you can do this. So
Yeah.
if you need eyeballs or you've got something particular that's a good piece of information you want out, send it to me. I'll help you share it and promote it. And
I really appreciate that.
We'll do this again, man.
I'll be back in October. There's
Awesome.
no doubt. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My family, SOE, got the tools to survive.